This episode of the podcast is sponsored by TKDWear, and TKDWear are a Taekwondo apparel brand. They do a range of t-shirts and polo shirts for men, and for women they do t-shirts, crop tops and leggings. They also do a range of useful accessories such as gear bags, shakers and neck scarves. So make sure to check them out at tkdwear.com, and you can use the promo code BLACKBELTER for 10% off. All details will be in the description. What's up, Brian? How are you? Thanks a million for coming on.
Yeah, no worries, man. Thanks for having me. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm all good. Like we said, hopefully getting back before we turn on record. Hopefully getting back closer to full-time training and proper training.
Yeah. I hear you, man. We're going back into a little bit of a lockdown here, so I mean, it's gonna go down a little bit, but
yeah,
is what it is.
And what number lockdown is that now? Because we're on lockdown. I think it's number 3 or 4. What 3? I think it is. I think this is 3.
Yeah, man. I can't even count at this point, man. It's probably about the same, 3 or 4, I think.
Yeah.
But I can't complain, man. It's been pretty good. Like we've only missed a couple months of training, really. So, I can't complain. How about you guys?
Yeah. It's been a while for us, a long time really for us. But has there been a difference then, kind of between like what you're allowed to do in terms of like karate versus taekwondo? Because obviously karate is in the Olympics, and maybe that might have a higher standing in terms of government recognition in that versus taekwondo. Has there been differences there in what you're allowed to train in terms of sports?
Not really, no, man. It's been pretty well. I mean, if they shut down one thing, it's pretty well everything. You know what I mean? Like me, my coach, and one of my training partners usually get together, the 3 of us, because we're allowed groups smaller than 5, right? So we've been doing that, which I mean isn't bad. My training partner's really good. My coach is really good. So working with those 2 is still it's still really good training, right? Not the same as like having all my training partners, but it is what it is. Can't complain. Yeah. What about you guys?
Yeah, like that. Well, I know the guys like with the association have been looking at to try and sort out the elite, like what's considered elite training, because Olympic level athletes and that in different sports have been allowed to continue on training and access to gyms and stuff. We are government recognized, but we don't have that kind of that much recognition. So when the sports shut down, we're included in that. So they're kind of looking at different levels, because we have 5 levels, and we're hoping that maybe if you're at level maybe 3 or 4, that they see elite level athletes. So the ones, a group of people off the national team or like the highly experienced people can continue on their training. So I think they do have something like that sorted out, but we haven't actually got to that level yet. We haven't got to level 3 or 4 yet. So hopefully like that, we'll be getting back closer to it. Yeah. So so that'd be a big help. So I suppose, we'll take it back for a small bit, and how did you get started in martial arts? Where did it begin for you?
I started when I was 4, and it was my dad. My dad thought it'd be good for me and my brother to do something like that, just kind of get us focused and kind of engaged in something, I guess, right? And yeah, man, we loved it, right? Like right from the start, we both really enjoyed it. We loved everything about it. And then around when I was 7 or 8, again, this was my dad's idea, but he thought that to improve our skills in Taekwondo, maybe you should try other martial arts, right? So around 7 or 8, he put us in karate, and me and my brother loved that as well. So we started competing in both, and it's since I was 4, ever since, man. I've loved it.
Yeah, 4 is quite young. 4 is quite.
It is, yeah. Well, the funny thing is, we originally went to a WTF school, and he said, we can't accept people that are under 5, so come back when he's 5. My dad's like, no, he's got to do something now. So he found another Taekwondo school. He didn't know the difference between ITF and WTF at the time, right? So he just thought it was Taekwondo. So, if I was 1 year older, I might be doing WTF Taekwondo.
Yeah, geez. That's mad, isn't it? Just small
things
that kind of can change where you end up going.
Exactly, yeah.
4. I don't know, 4. I think 4-year-olds, like, I think it was 4 maybe even when I started. I wasn't 4 when I started, but I think the starting age could have been 4.
Yeah.
But I think 4-year-olds are different now than they were before. Like, I don't know.
I know what you mean. It's there's like some good 4-year-olds, and then there's some that are extremely difficult to deal with, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of a mix. It's almost like a case by case. Like some 4-year-olds maybe are allowed in. Like I was like always a shy kid, so I was never like speaking out of turn or anything like that, right? So I think I was a pretty well behaved 4-year-old. But yeah, you can get some like just little monsters, man.
Yeah. But even in terms of then like just the training, like I think, I don't know, maybe it's 4-year-old, like maybe not just 4, but around the younger age, like they spend more time maybe on iPads and, you know,
Yeah.
the tablets, that sort of stuff. To maybe there was more messing about maybe when you were younger, like outside and just rolling around. And I think you were just like physically more, a bit more developed at 4-year-old before, maybe, you know.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
Um,
that's a good point. Yeah,
but yeah,
could be.
definitely. Yeah. Yeah, it's mad. There's some difference. You see, like even we've taken kids in at 5 and you see some 5-year-olds are much more closer to 7 and 8-year-olds in terms of maturity, but then you have the other ones then are closer to 3 and 4. Yeah, makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you like teaching?
Teaching, oh, I love
Something you
it.
really
Yeah,
enjoy?
I
Yeah.
love it. Yeah, yeah. It's always some days you're going in and you don't love it. You're kind of like, oh, Jesus, going in here now, and then well, as soon as it starts, as soon as you start, you're grand. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's because like if you turn up in a mood that like not in the mood, but like you still have to put on an act because like, you know, it's like a performance, especially with the younger
Yeah.
kids. And just by putting on that act, all of a sudden you're like, it just changes your mood just by having to put on the act of like upbeat and happy and great to be there and great
Yeah,
to see
definitely.
everybody. And because, and it just makes you feel in a better mood. And then at the end of it, you're kind of like, oh yeah, that was great. And you just leave happier.
Yeah, yeah. Do you enjoy it? Like you teach all ages, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do you kind of separate it? Do you have like you know like the young kids, and then do you also teach kind of like the elite kids, right? You kind of separate it
Yeah,
by
yeah. So be
age
like,
and
yeah, age and grade really. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I personally find like I really enjoy teaching the kind of more the kids that really want to compete. You know what I mean? I find there's kind of like a gap between you get some kids that are there and they're like, you know, they're there almost because their parents want them to be there. But then I really and that can be, I don't know, I find that almost boring, or it's hard for me to get motivated to teach them. But I find like the kids that want to compete, I love teaching them, man.
Yeah.
Love
I
it.
definitely have the same. Yeah, it is a bit more, it is harder like that when you have kids who don't like that because sometimes if they don't want to be there, they don't want to learn either. So like you're trying
Yeah,
to give something to them, but they don't really want to be taken aback because they're like, oh, I just want to get through this next hour and get home to do whatever I was doing. But like
definitely.
the
Yeah,
ones that
yeah.
turn up and are
Get back
like,
on the iPad.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
The ones that turn up and are there and want to learn and train because they want to get better because there's a competition coming up. It's like, yeah, they're the
yeah,
ones who really excite you and you do get a good enjoyment because the development there is much better.
yeah. Do you focus more on patterns or sparring? I know you can compete in both and are quite well rounded, but do you have a preference?
No, we train everything the same, pretty
Yeah.
much. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, pattern sparring, like a lot of kicking, and we do a good bit of special technique, even a mix of power breaking.
Oh, nice.
Like see that's it. Then like the self defense or step sparring, we wouldn't really spend much time on that side of stuff per
Yeah.
se, um, because again, it's not in competition. So we'd spend like most of our time on the competition events, and then everything else is kind of more geared around grading. But yeah, be big on patterns and sparring is pretty much split very even. Yeah,
Yeah, nice.
that would be the
Yeah,
same for
that's
you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Patterns and sparring are pretty much the only things that we do. Yeah.
Yeah, and it covers most bases, really. You know what I mean? Like because there's so much
Yeah,
crossover, so it covers most
yeah,
bases as well.
yeah. I mean, if you're really good at patterns, you're going to be really good at self sparring, right? So you
Yeah,
might as well focus your time on what you're going to compete in, I
yeah,
think.
yeah. And do you teach then? Do you teach in your own club? Like, do you have your own club, like you and your brother, or anything like that, or is it you're a part of the club? You teach classes in the club that you've been a part of all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I help out. The last little bit, I've really been focused on karate more so than Taekwondo. But I'm not an instructor at my brother's club, but I go and help out and things like that. I'll take some classes if he can't make it.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know. I don't have like the love for teaching like maybe you and my brother have, right? Like I very much enjoy the competition right now. So kind of everything I do is geared towards like my training, I guess, rather than teaching. Hopefully, you know, once I finish, I'll you know make that shift. But for now, I really am focused on the competition side for sure.
yeah. Yeah, there's sometimes maybe it can be that pressure, can't there? That like you have to kind of You have to
Yeah.
teach in that, but so it's just not for some people. Some people just like the competition stuff, and
Yeah,
that's it. So it's just not for everybody.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, when you started competing, then were you kind of successful straight away? Were you always one of the best competitors, or was there a time where you maybe were losing and then you had to develop and start to win?
Yeah, I was always successful, at the local level and then even at the national level, really. As a junior, I had very little success, like at the world championships. But like, it almost, my lack of success there is kind of what made me realize, okay, I need to train a lot harder. Like now that when I was like 18 and becoming a senior, right? And I think that's kind of like I almost needed those uh, that lack of success to kind of get to where I am now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think that really helped me see, okay, I was training hard, but it's not good enough to compete even junior level. So if I want to be successful as a senior, I need to train 10 times harder than I was training. So I think that really helped me open my eyes to what I needed to do.
Yeah. And when you were, I suppose, even going back to when you were a color belt, did you ever have a preference in terms of competition? What you preferred, patterns or sparring? Or
Yeah, I like as a kid, I always preferred patterns, and I think that's because I was like, oh, it goes back. I was always a shy kid that I never liked to hit people. Like I always felt bad, right? So like in like sparring, I would often like get overwhelmed with like punches and things like that. So I think I preferred patterns just because I was better at them, right? And then I'd spend more time, and then as I got older, I was still just better at patterns. So that kind of just became the primary focus.
yeah, it's funny though, isn't it? You were the shy kid, but you didn't mind stepping out in front of people and performing.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah,
got
I was
really
kind of the
nervous,
same.
but yeah. It's different though. It's like if you had me get up there and talk in front of everybody, it'd be different, right? But doing my pattern, something that I've done over and over and over again, I don't know. I find it less. I get less nervous for something like that.
Yeah, yeah. I used to get obviously. I obviously I was always, as a color belt and a kid, I was more successful, I suppose, in patterns and sparring. I suppose I was shy-ish maybe.
Yeah,
But like that, never mind going out. Like was never. I don't know. I was never that like, yeah, obviously I was nervous, but I never really feared forgetting it or too much or anything. Like in terms of forgetting a pattern, I was
yeah,
I never thought about a crowd or anything or who was watching. It was just I just do this thing. I've done it loads of times. I've done it hundreds of times in the club. I've done it hundreds of times at home. It's just step out on the floor and do the same thing. It's just like it didn't feel like that big a deal. But then for other people, it could feel like the worst thing in the world. Step up and perform a pattern.
oh, definitely, man. Do you remember how you felt at your first like big competition? I guess your first world championships. Did you kind of feel the nerves then?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was kind of the same idea. Yeah, the first one I would have been 20. Actually, maybe I did the World Cup in 2008, and that one, yeah, yeah. I was nervous. I remember walking like it was a lot of people, a lot of black belts straight away because they were like straight away if somebody's a black belt at that time they have to be good,
Yeah,
and they have to be like just because they're a black belt makes them nearly world champion level in
yeah,
the ring, like you know what I mean. So
yeah.
I wasn't a black belt that long when I first competed there. So yeah, I was fairly nervous for that one. Yeah,
Yeah, I think I was the same, man. I remember the first world championships, just the difference in levels. You know what I mean? Like I'm used to the national level, but when you see the guys doing their patterns at the world championships, oh my God, all of these guys are better than me. You know what I mean? That's what you're thinking before you go into the match. But yeah, I mean, it's cool. I love competing at those events now though. So much fun.
yeah. And so then when was the first time? What was your first world championships? Was it
The first one I went to was my brother was competing in 2009 in Argentina.
okay? Yeah,
And then after that, did we go? My first world championships would have been 2 years after 2013 in New Zealand.
2011 in New Zealand, I think was it 2011?
2013. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, 2011. Yeah,
yeah.
2011. Yeah. That was the first one I competed at.
And did you do patterns and sparring at your first one?
Pattern sparring. Yeah,
Yeah.
got beat up in both.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah. But
What, what what division were you in for the sparring?
I was in the lightest microweight, junior microweight sparring.
52. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was 58 for that one. Yeah. that one didn't go great for me either.
What was your best world championships?
And my best one as a
Yeah,
junior,
yeah. Or a senior.
or senior, 2017 for sure.
Oh yeah, how'd you do?
I won the sparring 57, so yeah.
Oh
So
wow, I didn't know that.
yeah,
Must have felt good in your hometown.
yeah, for sure. That was I didn't think it would feel as good as it did until I had won, and it was like, yeah, it feels pretty good to win in Ireland. I didn't think about it too much about winning in Ireland or anything like that, because in my mind thinking about it, kind of felt like that winning a world championships is still winning the world championships, whether you win it in
Yeah,
Germany, Italy, or whether you win
yeah,
it in Ireland. It's all the same. Like, you're still like, nobody really remembers like, oh, but that was the one in Ireland. Nobody else remembers it.
yeah.
It's something to me, but maybe it wouldn't mean something to somebody else. You know what I mean? So
You guys dominated that tournament in terms of sparring, though, didn't you? Senior sparring.
yeah, 57, 63, minus 70, and minus 78, all won. So
Wow. And team sparring, right?
and the team sparring, yeah, and the females then won the team sparring as well, and I think there was maybe 4 silvers and a gold out of the senior females as well. So, like,
Wow.
yeah,
What do you think the secret to that is? Do you guys get together as like a nation and train together a lot, or?
yeah. I think overall what Ireland did so well was because it was in Ireland, we got the chance to put all our best people on the floor because we're not funded. So to go to a World Championships can sometimes be up and down in the level of team that we
Yeah.
can put out on the floor, because jobs and college and the money and this sort of stuff. So because that wasn't so much of a factor, would have been in Ireland, we were able to have all our best people, and then so I think it was that, and then like the level has been increasing just overall within Ireland for like maybe for the last 10 years really. And we do train together. Like in the lead up to the competition, we probably have a squad session every 2 weeks, kind of give or
Oh
take.
wow. Okay. Yeah.
And if it's a bit longer, it's probably because maybe there was a competition in between. So because like that's the benefit of Ireland being small. You can get from one side of the country to the other.
Yeah.
So there's that, and yeah. So like I think there's a couple of factors there. Yeah, that why we dominated there. Yeah, definitely the squad sessions has been a big thing, and getting people together and training, being able to train with the best people.
Yeah. That's what I find is like so key for sparring, right? Being able to train guys or just have practice fighting guys that are as good or even better than you. You know what I mean? Like having, and if you're doing that every 2 weeks, man, like that's such a huge advantage. I think like I wish we had that, but Canada is such a massive country. It's like we might get together once before a world championships, right? And that's the only time during the year that we'll actually meet together and train, right? So I find it really difficult to get a lot of like really good people together in like the same space often. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think my brother's actually doing some things in this province, and I think in the next couple of years we're going to see a lot more like skilled people coming from Nova Scotia, right? Because before there hasn't really been like a I guess a provincial trainings or anything like that, but he's like introducing those, and I think he's really putting in the time and effort, right? So I think he's going to actually develop some really good athletes coming in the next couple of years.
Yeah. So then in terms of like selections, then is it kind of because you can't really get together, I suppose, and maybe picks maybe so often, is it all based on like nationals kind of stuff? Is that how it's picked?
Yeah. So national championships, and then they have like a team training afterwards, where they have almost like another smaller nationals where they can maybe make another decision. Like maybe you run into some guy forgets his pattern or something like that, right? Well, he can show up at the team training and then maybe get selected there.
Yeah. I suppose is it higher than it? Like, how do you find even like building, I suppose, a team like bond essentially? Like if you're not if you don't see the other people on the team until you get to the tournament, I presume it must be hard to even build a good kind of team culture.
You can't really, right? Like we don't really know each other. Like a lot of the people that have been on the team for a long time, like we all know each other, right? But like any like new kid or new adult that comes onto the team, like we have one team training per year, and then we see each other at the world championships, right? It's really difficult to know everyone, especially we usually have like a pretty big team as well, right? So I mean, you almost see like people have like their own groups and kind of stick to themselves, right?
Yeah.
At least that's what I find. So
Yeah. 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 Because Canada, it brings a big team, but like,
yeah,
this isn't any offense mean to anybody, but there's sometimes the level is very up and down. Like there's really high level people from Canada, like yourself, who are winning world championships,
yeah,
and others getting to finals and that. And then there's sometimes the level is a bit, guys, and there's some people who are kind of like, they're not maybe at the level too much. You know, it's like the people
yeah.
throughout the Canada squad, the level is very up and down on the quality, I find.
Very, oh no, it's very much so, and that you see that at the nationals as well, right? Like you'll see some divisions are absolutely stacked with like elite, world class athletes, and then some have two people in them, and neither of them are really belong at that world class level. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think it really comes down to I guess like even though you win a national championships, you really gotta. I think the selection committee who picks the team to go to the world championships needs to take a look at these athletes and say, okay, they won a national championships, but do they belong at that world championships? You know what I mean? And that will really help weed out some of those that maybe don't belong there.
Yeah.
But I think an argument could be made, I guess, that could help motivate them. They see where they're at and kind of where they need to be, and maybe that'll push them to work harder, right?
Yeah. Yeah. See, I know even sometimes for us in Ireland, we look at like there's been a couple of people, especially maybe in that third spot, who maybe they might like, you're kind of looking at like, are they going to win it or are they going to medal? No, but maybe by the time, maybe in 2 years' time, they might, because they'll have gone through all the squad sessions, because we
Yeah,
have all those squads. So they'll be training with the best people every so often. They're going to the tournament. They're going to get the experience to compete in that, and maybe all that will add together. And in 2 years' time, they might win. So I think that's another benefit. But like I say, with you guys there in Canada, not getting those squad sessions in, and not getting the chance to bounce off the best people, or even whether it's patterns or sparring or whatever, it can be hard to develop between
yeah,
championships.
yeah, definitely.
And so, like, when you were, did you ever have you had a preference between Taekwondo and karate, or has it always been a love of the two? Like, has it always been 50-50?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of weird. I really like the patterns in Taekwondo, but I prefer the fighting in karate. So like that's kind of how I spend my time. 50% of the time goes to patterns Taekwondo, and then the other 50 goes to fighting in karate.
Okay. What is it you like about? What is it you like for in the sparring in karate versus maybe the sparring in Taekwondo?
One thing, I'm better at it, so that
that's always a good factor. Yeah. A big factor. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also it's like it's point fighting, right? So as if you're the faster guy and you can get in and score your point first, then you're off. I find you often see in karate the better guy, the more skilled guy will win. Where in Taekwondo, I find for myself anyway, I sometimes I lack the aggression, I guess, right? And I can get overwhelmed with punches, even though I might like be faster and be able to get in on my opponent, right? And that might come down to I need to spend more time practicing Taekwondo fighting. You know what I mean? I don't know, but yeah, I guess I just prefer it. Yeah, I don't really know, man.
Yeah.
I guess because I'm better at it.
Yeah, well, look, I'm sure like that you prefer that your style is maybe more suited to the karate style. There's other people whose style maybe does better in kickboxing than it does in taekwondo.
Yeah.
And then there's other people then who's they're very good in taekwondo, but if they went to kickboxing or karate, maybe their style wouldn't suit there. So I think it's all maybe down to styles and that as well.
Yeah. And I find like you see, there's often like timing kicks work very well in karate, where in Taekwondo, I find like you might even be able to wrap around their head, you know, hit the back of the head or things like that. Those score in karate where you'll get like warnings in Taekwondo, right? So yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe I'm just more suited for karate sparring.
Yeah. In terms of then, what don't you like about the karate? I suppose patterns or katas, as I think they're more known.
Yeah, I guess I've spent so much time doing like Taekwondo patterns, right? And it's such a drastic difference that I feel like spending time doing karate patterns may actually take away from my Taekwondo patterns. You know what I mean? Just because they're so different, and I might start to build like habits in one that will translate to the other, bad habits, you know what I mean? Like they don't do any sound wave, stances are much different, things like that, right? So I think it's better to kind of keep them separate. And
Yeah.
also, my coach in karate, he's very much focused on sparring rather than kata. So like he spends 90% of his time doing fighting or doing drills like that. So and then in Taekwondo, my coach is very much focused on patterns, right? So
So
it's
it's that
kind
good
of
balance.
it's exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose cross training there between the two of them wouldn't actually benefit you at all, really, with the difference in styles.
Yeah, no, not really.
Yeah. Some of the karate team patterns though, like is savage. Like some of the way they synchronize it, like they're like
Oh, it's yeah.
bang on. Like so, like some of the team patterns, like I've watched some of them on YouTube, and they're savage. The team patterns, the way they're so together.
Yeah. They're, and then the bunkai they do at the end where they're like they kind of demonstrate how like the moves are actually applied and things like that.
Yeah.
It's really cool, man. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool
Like
event.
I really like the way they look. I just, you know, like growing up, I've always preferred Taekwondo patterns. Like obviously I'm biased, right? But I preferred the Taekwondo patterns, but I still think that the kata they do in karate looks really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. In terms of qualifying for the Olympics, am I right in saying you've been trying to qualify? You've been pushing to get to Tokyo.
Yeah, so we've got an Olympic qualification tournament in June in Paris, and that'll be the last shot. Have to come, I think, top three. So
Top three.
every country that doesn't already have an athlete going, so there's 10 spots in each division, and I think there's like 7 already filled. So there's 3 remaining spots. So every country that doesn't already have an athlete going can send 1 competitor, and then the top 3 in this Paris tournament will go.
And are you going to compete in? You're not going to compete in katas, or is there 2 events you're competing in?
No, just kumite, just fighting.
Oh, just fighting. Well,
Yeah,
is that? That's minus
minus 67.
67.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Are the weight classes similar to the Taekwondo
Uh,
ones? 'Cause-
so like at the World Championships, it's minus 60, minus 67, minus 75, minus 84, and plus 84. For the Olympics, they only have 3 weight divisions. They have minus 67, or is it minus 67, minus 75, plus 75.
yeah.
So for the Olympics, they got rid of 2 of those weight divisions, which I mean sucks, right? Because now there's only 3, like they said 10 athletes per weight division. So now there's only 30 athletes going instead of 50. But
Yeah. I think it's like that. I think they do that with the Taekwondo as well.
oh really? I didn't know
I
that.
think the WT Taekwondo, they don't have full division. I don't think it's all divisions. I think it's kind of a roll of the dice on which ones get picked.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that on. I think even the women's the women's boxing was like that as well. When they first brought it in, I think they maybe had 2 divisions, and then they extended it to 3. Because I think it's all down to how many medals each sport gets. Like they might go boxing gets however like 12 medals, and then they split it up between, oh well, we'll do 10 male divisions, and then we'll do 2 female divisions or something.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it's that kind of situation. So that's like karate was probably given however many medals, and then they had to pick how they divided them out. So that's how they
Yeah.
picked the divisions, which it's not great if you're happen to not be in one of those divisions, and it's like
Yeah.
your sport is in the Olympics, but just because you're not heavy enough, or you're too heavy, or whatever it is, you don't get in.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks for the guys that fight minus 60 because now they have to fight the minus 67 guys. And then anyone minus 84 now has to fight the plus 84 guys, right? So I'm sure those guys will probably try and put on muscle or weight or whatever, right? So that they aren't at such a size disadvantage.
Yeah. But even then, if you're putting on size, then to try and get there, and then maybe you do, maybe you don't. But then what happens after the Olympics or whatever? Are you going to stay there? Are you going to go back? And there's all like
Yeah.
it's such a
Yeah.
challenge, then, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. And I mean, it sucks that karate's not in the next Olympics either, right? So it's not. It's like this is your one shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it sucks, man.
Yeah. And how has the qualifying bit? Is this going to be like the first qualifying event you'll have went to, or have you went kind of? Because I understand that there's kind of like the way everybody else would have qualified is through like going on the circuit basically and accumulating
Yeah.
points. Have you been to any of those kind of events?
I've competed at a few of those. I think 1 or 2 maybe. And then I'd go to like the nationals, the Pan Ams as well, and compete at those kind of tournaments. And through all of these, you can like earn points, and then the top 2 point earners are automatically given a spot. And then there's some other selection criteria for the other spots. I'm not really sure on those, but I
Yeah.
just know this Paris tournament, it was really my only shot from the beginning. So
Okay. And
yeah.
is there any funding for karate at the moment in Canada, given it's in the Olympics, or is it all having to sort your own funding or pay out of your own pocket?
Yeah, like a lot, like the tournament coming up will be funded. There's a lot of funding, a lot more than in Taekwondo, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always the challenge with these, because even if like here in Ireland, I think there's only one guy who's like, he's qualified for the Olympics in Taekwondo. And apart from that, like even if you're trying to qualify, we've had a few other people who could try to qualify and they're having to try and fund it themselves. It's
Yeah,
so hard. Like even the fact that like Taekwondo is in the Olympics and everything, and
yeah.
the person is going to these tournaments to try and qualify, but there's still no funding. It's the biggest challenge, I think, and what stops the sports really growing in a lot of countries is the lack of funding and being able to really commit to the training that's needed.
Yeah, definitely. I'm surprised you guys don't get any funding since your team is always so good. I would have thought for sure you would get something.
Yeah, you see, the thing is, because like that, we have government recognition,
Yeah,
but because WT Taekwondo is in the Olympics, if any group is to get funded, it will be them. Is the thing. So
yeah,
we won't get the funding because we're not an Olympic recognized sport. That's like straight, like, because even though we're recognized straight away off the bat, all the Olympic recognized sports are the ones who are going to get the funding. Um,
yeah, definitely.
I can
It's the
understand
same
it.
way here. It's
So
same way here. The WT is the Olympic sport, so they get all the funding. Yeah,
yeah.
the same.
How often then, in terms like even with Taekwondo, how often are the Pan Americans, the Pan Ams?
For karate, they're every year.
Yeah, and in terms of, is it that the same for Taekwondo?
I don't know. The Pan Ams is not really I might have competed at one of them. It's not really a large tournament, or I don't think anyone from Canada really ever goes. I
Yeah.
almost never hear about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard from other people, like Nicholas Dussard says, like the Pan Americans is very big in terms of that, in terms of like South American countries and things like that. Um, yeah, so maybe it's just Canada doesn't
Yeah.
support it too much.
Do you know if the US goes or sends a large team?
I don't know if they send a large team, but I think they have went. Like I think Julio has competed a couple of times in the Pan Ams.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I know we don't send a huge group, if anyone really. So
Yeah. See, that's also a shame in terms of like developing a squad, because like that, like just here in Europe, like we have European championships
mm,
every year, which like that, like I said, like when you're building somebody and trying to progress them to,
yeah,
maybe they won't win now, but in 2 years' time they'll win, is you get those accumulation of tournaments because there's one every year. No, I don't think there's necessarily a need to have a European championships every year. Especially when you're throwing in a European Cup every year as well, and so these sort of
yeah.
things. So I think maybe every 2 years would be all right. But
I think
but
having
still,
like those tournaments is helpful though. Like you guys have how many like big tournaments like that per year?
like last year you could have done, like 2020 would have been, I suppose, European Championships. There would have been a European Cup, and there was a World Cup as well. Should have been a World Cup. So it was those three big events, and then like
Yeah,
you've got all the other ones. Then like just like from your Open Dutch ones to your Holland Cups to Roma Opens to,
yeah,
all those other ones as well that are, you're going to get matches with people who are going to be at those big tournaments. Maybe the whole division isn't stacked, but you're going to get one or two matches where there's going to be big
high
fights.
level
But yeah,
competitors, right? Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think that really helps motivate and give people like something to look forward to. You know what I mean? Like here, I mean, we have the nationals in the world championships and the World Cup if you go, right? That's kind of like we have like the Eastern Canadian Championships, which is like for the East, right? East of Canada, and then you'll have the Western tournament or Western Championships. But that's really it in terms of competition, right? So we don't have like all those competitions to look forward to, which is too bad, right? I mean, just having that extra motivation, you have something to look forward to, something to compete at, a tournament to compete at, I think actually pushes you to train harder. It's
yeah.
too bad that we don't have like a solid group that kind of would go to the Pan Ams, you know what I mean? But you know.
Yeah, like that, it even breaks up the training. Like if you're training for
Yeah,
however long, like 6 months, 12 months, or whatever it is, to like that big event is there, like that can be a drag. And like you said, to stay motivated. But whereas if you have a tournament, it's in 3 months, it's in a month's time, 2 months time, even 3 months time. It's like, well, that breaks it up. You have that one, you can come back and then you can get
yeah,
ready
yeah,
for the next one. It's just, it's a bit more continuous, and it helps keep you focused, motivated, keeps you enjoying it.
for sure. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then how have you found um balancing, I suppose, college or university with training? Because I'm right in saying because you only just finished, is that right?
Yeah, yeah. So I was just doing a master's in engineering. I still have to work on my thesis, so I'm not quite done. But yeah, it's definitely tough, man. School it requires a lot of time, right? Like actually, this year I've taken a small step back in terms of the training, just because it's been such a busy year in terms of schoolwork and things like that. But yeah, I mean, like I've always loved to like compete, to train. Like that's kind of what I do to take my mind off things, right? So like usually during the day I'll study and then I'll go train, because that's where I get like my enjoyment and stuff from. So I like, maybe I'm weird in that sense, that like that's kind of like training is what I really love to do. Like yeah, just training in karate and taekwondo, right? So I mean, it. I guess it doesn't really feel like training, right? Like I know it's physically demanding, but it's also something I really enjoy doing. So it's really not that hard, I find, to balance the two. Like the training is actually the one thing I look forward to in the day, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think everybody, I think all like, I think everybody in all sports are the same. I think all athletes are the same. Yeah, training is hard, but you love to do it. You know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's it's
yeah.
it's enjoyable as well.
Do you have is teaching your kind of job? Or are you in school or anything like that?
Yeah, it's kind of, I suppose, mostly my job at the moment, which yeah, hasn't been happening the last while with COVID, but yeah, yeah, so that hasn't been great, but yeah,
Do
training
you
is
ever
definitely.
find it? Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, go
Go
on.
ahead. Do you ever find it tough to I guess like your teach? Do you teach a lot? Is it? Do you ever find you're teaching more than maybe you kind of want to be training more?
At the moment, not too much, because I would kind of balance that. I kind of do a bit of teaching, then I train after that, because I'll be at the gym already. So I could
Okay,
train
yeah,
after that. So it's been working quite nice, really. A decent enough balance and bit of time then during the day to do a bit of training then as well. So it's been working all right.
nice.
So
Yeah,
so yeah, so balancing issues hadn't been too much of a problem for me the last while, but there have been times, yeah, where like when I was doing college, it was hard to kind of to balance it and train it as much maybe as I would like. Instead of
yeah,
maybe like 2 sessions a day, it might be some days it was only one, and then you have to prioritize
mm,
what it was what type of session it would be, and that sort of stuff. So yeah, it is it's hard to do it, but like you said, yeah, you always enjoy the training. It's just
exactly. Yeah,
finding where to fit it in. But once you're there to do it, it's good to go.
yeah, for
Was that
sure.
when you started and you said like you didn't get success straight away?
Yeah.
Was there where was like was there a moment where like maybe was it where you went? Did you go from like losing in the first round to I'm now uh I'm now world champion, or was there maybe a progression where you went, well, I lost in the first round, and then the next time maybe it's second or third round, and then after that then you're getting to a semi final to eventually a final and top step at a podium, or was it just a complete kind of it just completely flipped around for you?
It's pretty sudden, man. Like I know, what was it? 2011 New Zealand, I lost first round. 2013 Spain, right?
Yeah, Benidorm, yeah.
I think I get kind of I might have been a round away from medaling, and then 2015 as a senior I won. So it was a very sudden kind of shift. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And especially, I suppose, because you in that time, then did you go from being 2015 was your first time senior, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you kind of had that jump as well, and of kind of going from junior to senior. Did you expect that to be kind of a harder transition?
Um, well, I think what made me perform better at that tournament is I had very little success as a junior, right? So going in, I wasn't nervous because I thought, well, I'm not going to win here, right? How can
Yeah,
I? How right? There's no pressure on me, I guess, right? Where I think as a junior, I would often I would expect to medal almost, right? Like I thought I was good enough to win a medal, And I think that would put a lot of pressure on me. So then when I made that shift, I just kind of had that realization that, like I'm not supposed to win here, right? So I really just went out there and had zero nerves. You know what I mean? And maybe that's what contributed to me performing so well at that tournament.
Yeah. Yeah. Once I suppose you got rid of expectation, maybe, or when you let yourself let go of that kind of expectation that you had to win, and that kind of maybe flipped it around for you. So yeah, flipped it around for you. I suppose, yeah, I think maybe even, yeah, I kind of was similar. Yeah, maybe towards the end of my time at junior, I was kind of feeling like I've been doing this a while. I know I'm good enough to win, and then like I should be winning. And then when you don't win, you're kind of like, oh. But when I went senior, the first one like that, I think I was only 18. I didn't have that last year. There was a rule change, and I ended up having to go
Yeah.
see whatever. And so I stepped in. I was like, I'm 18 here. I'm probably the youngest, or at least one of the youngest in the division. Like, I'm not expected to win. And then
Yeah.
it was just like, I just go out and get stuck in. Like, and then I ended up getting, that was the final of the European Championships that year. And it was kind of like,
Wow.
I was like, all right, okay, but once you just get rid of the expectation of, well, I'm not expected to win, so just go out and get stuck in and see what happens. And
Yeah.
it's freeing. Like, it's you just end up, like you said, you're nervous, but you're not as nervous.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's so many other factors I find, um, not only do you have to be the best, but you also have to be lucky. You know what I mean? Like you have to be the best and also perform your best that day, right? Which, like, there's so many things that can go wrong in patterns or sparring, right? So like to win at like the world championships, it's like it's a both skill and luck thing. I feel like, right? Um, yeah, I mean it's sorry, one sec. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
Sorry, what kind of lost my train of thought there.
You need a bit of luck.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So I guess, and once I kind of realized that it's not just about being the best, but it's about being lucky, performing your best, and also whether the judges like you or not, right? Because at the end of the day, the patterns are judged by 5 people. It's not an exact thing. You know what I mean? It's not like you have the computer that spits out who had the fewest mistakes and therefore is the winner, right? Mm-hmm. So I guess once I kind of realized that, I trained as hard as I could. I knew that I belonged at the World Championships, that I was among the best. And after I realized that, the medal doesn't really matter to me anymore. You know what I mean? I'm just going there. I'm going to perform at my best, and I'm going to have fun. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, I do this because I love the sport, right?
Yeah.
And then that I feel like that really kind of just eliminated almost all the nerves. You know what I mean? Like I don't go in there with that expectation of winning. So I feel like I actually perform better now.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially I think that's definitely the thing with patterns is, you really, the result really is out of your hands, like spar. That's just how I feel anyway. I know like sparring, it feels much more like, well, if I hit the person more than he hits me, then I have to win, kind of a thing. But like patterns, exactly, are just like you can't affect what the person standing across does. Like if they do a better pattern than you, well, they do a better pattern than you, and
exactly, yeah,
you can just do your thing, and that's it. And I suppose maybe that's like some people enjoy that more. It's like I just have to do my thing, and it gets me to, what happens. And there's other people who don't like that. They need to have that feel like they are in control of the result.
Yeah, and I also feel like for patterns, it's so much about repetition. Like to get good, you just need to do it over and over and over again, right? As long as you have someone that's, watching your patterns to make sure you're doing the correct movements and things like that. But for the most part, it's just about the repetition, right? Practicing it over and over and over until it's perfect. So I find because I like we kind of lack, I guess, the training partners for fighting, or at least that's how I feel, right? There's just not, like, I have my brother, maybe 1 or 2 other guys, right? But for patterns, I can just use my space in the basement and practice over and over and over and over again, right? So I feel like I'm almost in more control of how well I do in patterns than I am in sparring.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, patterns is it's like you can train on your own there. You sparring, you can't really improve without a partner, without at least one partner, and ideally I got a number of good partners. So yeah, patterns is definitely on your own, and if you can get some video and get it to a coach or anything like that, it's really helpful as well.
Even just using YouTube videos, watching how the best guys do it. Okay, I'm just gonna mimic that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a good way as any. Yeah. And have you ever felt like, in terms with the patterns, that has there ever been a time where you felt that, do you feel that sometimes you perform better in training than maybe you do when you step on the competition floor? In terms of
Probably
even,
every
yeah,
time.
because
Yeah, I think
like
so.
in terms of like when you're, because without the pressure, I suppose, and the nerves and the adrenaline, when you're in training, like your legs can feel perfect,
Yeah,
but then you
yeah,
step out on the floor and they don't feel sometimes they don't feel quite there, and you're a bit more nervous about the balance. And
yeah.
especially when you're doing like a juche and you're right up in front of them judges and you're like, I don't want to wobble. Like, do you find that you have the same, that you don't kick, maybe even kick as well on the mats as you would in training?
Definitely. I feel almost like my legs feel a little bit heavier. You know what I mean? So I feel like, just the kicks feel a little bit more difficult to do. And then the balance is always something that I kind of struggle with at competition, but in training, like you'll nail like the juche jump spin reverse kick 100 out of 100 times in practice. But then as soon as you do it in a competition, you screw it up, right? That's kind of how it's almost always like that for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think people will like to hear that, because even in competition, you still kick extremely well, like maybe even the best kicker there. So, so to hear that you still don't, that you still don't feel it's in competition that it's as good as it could be, that you're even better in training, maybe because I think everybody maybe has the same thing, like, in like that, even on, like, there's maybe certain techniques where maybe you hold back that little bit because you're thinking about, like, that maybe the jump back, the jumping
Yeah.
reverse turning kicks are probably one in juche that you're not going to maybe swing it at 100% because you're kind of focusing on, well, I can't, if I lose balance, it's going to cost me more. So you hold back that little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. But then when you're practicing and training, you hit it every single time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you would have competed. What do you think of the new pattern scoring, system versus maybe the old one that would have been around in 2011 and maybe even 2009 when you were watching your brother? What do you think of the difference in scoring systems? Do you like them?
If I'm being honest, man, I don't even know what the difference is. I don't even think about that. You know what I mean? I practice my pattern as hard as I can, and whatever the judges think, whoever they think is better, they'll vote for.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I suppose, look, that's a good attitude to approach it with, as well, as if you forget about
Yeah.
it, like just really focusing on your own performance. It doesn't matter about what the pattern is, still the pattern. It doesn't matter what the rules are, I suppose.
Yeah. I know how to do my pattern, right? So I don't even know what the scoring system is now, to be honest.
All right, yeah, yeah. It's the one with the, you get a deduction for the mistakes. You have your 0.2s, your 0.5s, and then you've got like a
And then there's
one.
like a 1 point for who you think it has more power or something like that, right?
Yeah. That's the one at the moment. And then the old one would have been, you had um your categories, your technical content, your breath control, rhythm,
Okay.
all that. We had your 5 sections, and then like technical content would have been a score out of 5, and then the other 4 would have been out of 3, and then it
Yeah.
was the person. Then you had the highest score at the end in that way. I suppose kind of similar, but the other one was much more comparative. Like, you were kind of comparing more. Well, that one, like, this guy was more powerful than this guy, so maybe he gets a 3 for power and he gets a 2, and then maybe he made a couple of
Yeah.
technical mistakes, so maybe his technical content was 3 and his was a 4. So it was a bit more comparative in terms of, like, the score you were given was that guy versus that guy. Whereas now, obviously, it's just the total overall. Well, how many mistakes did I see for this person, and
Yeah.
how many mistakes did I see for him? And then it's just, did you miss one for that person, or then you can miss more.
I wonder though, like, is that really how it's being done, or are you kind of just making these mistakes indicate who you thought was the better guy?
Yeah, I don't know. I think they were definitely at a point where, well, I know watching some of the scores, it felt like every movement people were deducting. There was a deduction.
Mm.
Um, like when you've seen some of the scores, you've seen like world championship scores at like 2 or 3 out of 10, and you're kind of going like, well, that's a lot of deductions for like people who are potentially in a world championship final here.
Yeah.
It can't be that bad. So I think then I see. I think it's kind of like how like how anal do you want to get about the mistakes? Like, it's like, oh, his foot was, it was maybe 30 degrees,
One
25.
angle. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
26 of 25. Yeah.
yeah. So I think, you know, I think it's getting more to maybe comparative, and I think that's why I think there was a time, because they changed it even with that one, that out of one for the power. That wasn't always necessarily the case. I'm pretty sure. And then so then the overall kind of performance and power was kind of being diluted in terms of that wasn't impacting the results so much. So I think they wanted to put more emphasis on that, and that is more comparative. Okay, that person was more powerful than that person. So so I think that's kind of getting more. It is going more like comparison, but I kind of like, I don't know. I know. I think I prefer the old scoring system, but I think then when you look at it, the same people are probably still winning. You know what I mean? Like the best people are still the best patterns are going to, like you said, it doesn't matter what the scoring system is. If the best people do the best patterns, then they're going to win.
Yeah, I definitely prefer, and if you say the older one is more comparative, I prefer that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because really that's what you're doing. You're comparing the two people and choosing the one that's better. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think like if you try and break it down into, okay, clicking every time someone makes a mistake, well, that's when you start to look at this guy, he makes a mistake and you miss the mistake this guy's made.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, you're just comparing. Like you should be able to look at their pattern and almost say, okay, one of them is better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would agree. And like you said, and I know there has been some talk about, because with the scoring system that we have, and like that, you could miss some mistakes, that there's been the talk of having people go up and do the pattern on their own, and then score. And when you see a mistake, give a deduction, and maybe the person with a score. And I know there's been some talks, maybe changing patterns like that. Maybe that's the way it's going to be done. Like that, I prefer the way I prefer it with, like you said, the comparative, like the way it is. Go up, both people compete, and compare the two, and like that pattern was better than this one, and like you said, across the criteria. I think it could be interesting if they were to go one by one, but they did, like if they brought back something like the optional pattern.
Yeah.
And they did it where, like, you know, like they do maybe in, I think they do it in gymnastics even, like the difficulty, the level of difficulty. I do it in diving as well, like a difficulty like coefficient or something. So like depending on the difficulty of the dive depends on the maximum score you can get. That could maybe be something interesting if you did in Taekwondo. Like if you stepped out and we're doing a Juche and Mumu, and you get a higher score, but then you'll have some people maybe who'll do maybe a lesser difficult, like I know what you
mean.
You know, so
I think I think doing the patterns that way, then it would make sense to kind of have the scoring system that's implemented now, right? Because then you can look at every single movement and deduct the necessary points, right? The one thing though, I think, like having people go at the same time, I think you can easily tell who's better in almost all cases now. You know what I mean? Like having them go side by side, you can really see the difference in, like, I mean, doing Juche or Mumu, you see one guy like shaking his leg and, you know, it's down by his knee, and then the other guy is doing this perfectly smooth, right? Like I think those things become more obvious when you have them going side by side rather than one by one. But I think it'd be really interesting to see like doing patterns one at a time.
Yeah, I'd like to see it tried. I know Grandmaster Boss said they tried at one World Championships. He decided to try it, and the general told him, like, no, this can never be done again. I know there's some story with that, but but even like you said though, in terms of like the comparative and the system they have now, they've even tried like the fact that you have to start kind of basically level. You can't go like back 2 mats, like you can't be staggered, because I know there was maybe some games with like Ulji, because of the spacing going one way, that, you know, somebody tries to cut across, and then, so I know there's maybe that, but even the fact like that, when it's not those patterns that you can't go towards the back of the ring and this person towards the front, is because it's harder for them to watch, you know, because it's harder for them to watch too. So they want to stick there. So straight away, like you said, it's because they're trying to compare them essentially and see the mistakes.
Yeah.
So why not have the scoring system match? But yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I do think, like you said, I do think the best people are probably, like, Suska was winning across both, you know.
Yeah.
So,
that guy wasn't going to be beaten, man.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to be beaten.
Yeah. You know, Maxime won across both. Like Stephen that got to the final across both scoring systems. Like, I think the best people are just the best people do the best patterns. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. How does the scoring system work in karate for the patterns? Do you know, for the katas, or do you know that, or do you just?
Yeah, I'd be lying if I told you I knew, but they don't have any. There's no electronic scoring. They have flags, so they're keeping track, I guess, in their head who they think is better. I think they'd be making. I don't know the kind of deductions that they're looking or the mistakes they're looking for, right? But they don't have any kind of scoring system. The one person goes up one at a time, does their kata. The other person goes up, and then they vote with flags. They have, I think it's 5 judges, one in each corner, and then one in the middle. And then one person go up, and then the other person goes up, and then they just vote who they thought was better.
Yeah. What would you think of that in Taekwondo with the different positions of referees?
I think it would help. It'd help see mistakes, especially going backwards, right? It's hard to see what they may be doing. If like maybe they punch with the wrong arm or something, it can be easily not seen by judges, right? But if you have judges in all corners, then you can see that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I like it. I also like that they don't have any kind of electronics, right? Like I guess for Taekwondo, it doesn't really work because I like seeing the score after the first pattern going into the second one. So I guess it wouldn't really work for that. But I like that they just use flags, right? Like I don't think you need any kind of set scoring structure like that. You know, I think you should just vote for who you think is the best.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there was a tournament in Rome, again, Grandmaster Boss ran it, and they did that's the way they did the judges were seated. You had one in the middle, and then you had the 4 corners.
Yeah.
Again, it was different. Yeah, it was different. It was different when, like you said, when you turn around and there's a judge there, you know. So yeah.
Was it one at a time and two? Was it one by one?
No, we went same time.
Okay.
So yeah, that could be. Do you think then? But do you think in karate that because you're comparing that it could be better if they both went at the same time? Would you think that would be better then?
Yeah, I think those kata require a lot more space though. So it would be tough to have 2 going at the same time. It's tough. It's tough to say, right? Because I mean, if you're going one by one, I guess you could have like a list and going down. But it's kind of like the kata are so different. I think it's kind of like, and even the stances sometimes are like different in the kata they're doing and things like that. It's not quite the same as Taekwondo. It's not as easy to kind of implement like a scoring structure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of why it's done the way it is.
Yeah. So I know you mentioned there just you said that you like to see the scoring between patterns.
Yeah.
What's going through your head in between the patterns? If you see you're winning, what are you thinking when the next pattern comes up? Or if you're losing, what are you thinking?
I don't know. I guess I like to know if it's really close. You know, if it's like 3-2 or 1-2-1, or if it's a tie. You know what I mean? And then I know, okay, I really have to lock in for this last one. Yeah. You know what I mean? No more wobbles. I can't lose my balance. You know what I mean? But if you see like kind of a 5-0 for you, it's like a huge relief almost. You know what I mean? I guess that's why I haven't had a 5-0 the other way. If that guy's beating me 5-0, I might be pissed, right? Like it might not motivate you to even do the pattern. I don't know. I haven't experienced that, but I mean, I like seeing the score halfway through.
Yeah, I know for myself. Like I think, I thought, or maybe other people have had this, that if you're winning, you're kind of thinking like, right, give me Chanji Dangon-do-san, Chanji Dangon-do-san. You're hoping you're not going to lose, flip too much, but then if it's going the other way, you're thinking like, right, give me one of the high patterns here to give me a chance to flip this over.
Yeah.
But then if you are winning and a Dangon or something does come out and it still flips and you lose, like that's something. Maybe you haven't had that. Maybe you haven't had that, but that's not great either.
I hate doing that's what I hate about the World Cup, man, is that it should be a pattern that's selected from your rank. You shouldn't be doing, like, as a black belt, I shouldn't go and my first pattern is Chunji. That shouldn't happen, right? It should only be a black belt pattern.
Yeah, for sure.
Because like losing on a pattern like that is it's
and then
awful.
I think, and do they do this? Is it semifinals and finals? Then it's the full thing. Is it? It's 2 designated. Then is it? It's the full, like it would be at a World Championship. Yeah, I think for the semifinals and finals, then do they switch it and it goes like it would be at a World Championships?
I'm not sure. Yeah. I wasn't at the most recent World Cup, so I don't.
Yeah, I'm not sure, because I know for the sparring it's 1 3-minute round until the semifinals and finals, and they switch it to 2 2-minute rounds.
Oh, and then they switch it. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm not totally sure. I think for the patterns it might be like that. It's 1 designated until you get to the semifinals and finals.
Yeah. I don't Yeah, I don't understand why they can't switch it and have instead of your one optional pattern be a selection from all of them, just select a black belt pattern. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah, yeah, definitely. Like, yeah, I suppose that maybe they're looking at it like for first degree, maybe there's only the 3 patterns, so it's not much, it's not too random. But even then, if they were to do it, like if they did like you're only picking from like Jungun up, something like that,
Yeah,
so that you can't get the lower ones. Like even if they wanted to do that for them, and then just the first degree ones, and then maybe second degree and up is just black belt, and that way it's just all the black belt ones. Then, um, yeah,
yeah. I think like if you have like two of the top guys in the world doing chunji against each other, I think it's going to be very difficult to say who's better, right? But if you give them a black belt pattern, I think you're going to be able to see more mistakes,
yeah,
right? So I kind of think that's the argument for just doing a black belt pattern. Even like Jungun, right? Like you have two of the best guys. I think the Junguns are going to look similar. I think that the black belt patterns will really kind of, I guess, highlight maybe who's the best.
yeah, yeah. Like you said, if a Chanji comes out and his 2 top guys, they're probably going to end up doing another pattern anyway, because it's probably going to be a
Yeah,
draw. So
yeah.
why not just jump straight to doing a harder one?
That should be the go-to for the judges. They see if it's close and it's a really low pattern, just give them an even score so they can do
Yeah, just
another
save
one.
the time. Save the
Yeah.
time. So then, are you still second degree? Haven't your
No, I'm
all
a
your
third degree
the
now.
third degree now? All your world titles have been at second degree though, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. How long were you a second degree for? Quite a while.
Jeez, man, like 10 years.
Really?
Yeah.
God.
I wasn't gonna test until I won, man. I like those patterns too much, so I had to at least get a medal, So
Yeah. Are you going to stay? What's the plan then? Is it you're hardly going to stay at third degree for 10 years? Are you?
no, get to fourth as fast as possible.
Everybody does, I think, don't they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, because for me, I was first degree for quite a while. Because I think once you first get that black belt, you're kind of not worrying about the grading too much for a
yeah.
bit, and then I think I kind of jumped through them fairly fast then. But that third degree I stayed the minimum at third degree at 3 years, and then moved on. I think it's the stripes they're calling and stuff. Then, isn't it? You want to
I just want the kicks back in the patterns. I don't really like the third dan patterns as much. So, but
yeah,
the fourth dan patterns look pretty cool. So
yeah, they're
I'm
nice. They're
excited
nice.
to get there.
Yeah, the third degree. Yeah, that's definitely a thing as well. Yeah, the third degree patterns aren't that nice. Yeah,
No, no, they're
yeah,
just so long and tiring and not a lot of kicks. So
yeah. And the Choyong's not too bad. I don't mind Choyong actually.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, that
That's a
one's not
nice.
bad.
That's a nice one. But yeah, and then so then when did you start? You've sparred a few times though as a senior, haven't you?
Yep, yeah. I sparred. Was it all of them? No, I didn't spar in 2015. I sparred in 2017. Sparred in 2019.
Yeah. How did them ones go? Did you fight Adam Shelley in Ireland?
Yeah. He beat me up pretty good in 2017.
Yeah. Well, you
Yeah.
lost to
He's
the
good,
champion.
man. He's really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If there's
Well,
one guy to lose to, I guess it was him, right?
yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, across that span of time, everybody he fought lost to him. So,
Yeah,
like,
that's a good point.
So yeah, yeah. Do you think there'll be a time where you maybe stop sparring, you'll just go focus on the patterns, or is the goal to maybe to kind of still compete in the two?
Um, I definitely I care about my result and patterns more, but I'm there. I've qualified for sparring. I might as well spar.
Yeah,
Like I guess like, but it's always nice because I care about patterns a lot more. Once that event is done, I feel like zero pressure because the result in sparring is not really that important to me. So I kind of just go out there and have some fun.
yeah. Yeah, I suppose that's the handy thing. I suppose Well, do you think you'd feel that way if you ever moved the sparring before the patterns?
Yeah. I don't think I'd do it. Wouldn't want to risk the injury before
Yeah,
uh, competing in patterns. Yeah.
yeah. There has been times that especially I'm not too sure about the seniors, but there was a time
Yeah.
but there was 1 or 2 tournaments where for the juniors the sparring was before the patterns, which
It just doesn't make sense.
yeah, well, it's even
Like
different
why
mentally,
risk
isn't
an
it?
injury?
Because like when you're
Yeah.
when you're a kid, all tournaments, like, you're just ingrained in that it's patterns first and then it's
Patterns
sparring.
and sparring. Yeah.
It's just, that's always just been the way. You just fall into that routine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy how many athletes do both. Like it's like in karate, it just doesn't happen. Like you have to do one or the other almost. Like it's like you can't be elite at both. But in Taekwondo, almost all the top guys, they compete in both of the events.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting to see.
I don't think it's like that so much anymore. I think it was like that definitely for a period of time before, but I think it's going to go on much more like that where the sparrers are not many people are winning in both. I think you have people, I think you have people who are competing in both in Taekwondo, but if the people are winning in patterns, they're probably not winning in sparring, and the people winning in sparring probably aren't winning in patterns, just because, like you said, like, and maybe you even had as well, the time to spend out, like you can't really balance the time across everything. You have to prioritize, and which means, like, if you're trying to split your time, if you're only putting 50% of your time into something that another competitor is putting 100% of their time into, then
they're gonna beat you.
Yeah, it's so hard. Yeah, so I think
the levels are definitely increasing as well, right? Like just the average level of each competitor is increasing. Like you can see, like people are getting better now, right? So you're right. You can't really. There's going to come a point, I think, where you can't really be competitive in both. You almost have to pick.
Yeah,
I think that's coming.
Sure. Yeah. The only way I think like that, you'll have to pick. Yeah, I think that's the way it's going to be. I think you're going to see more. I think across as it continues on, I think most people are just going to be either a patterns person or a sparring person, and that'll be it.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think but I think as well that it even for some people it can switch, like maybe because obviously people might finish sparring, their sparring career might go, well, you know what, I'll switch and focus the patterns and I'll see what I can do there. So I think that it might not necessarily be like people, I was a sparrer and that's it, and then I retire from that. But I think it'll flip around and people will start to do other events then as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I suppose maybe before we finish up, if you had to pick, I ask everybody, if you had to pick a favorite fighter to watch, who would you pick? It could be Taekwondo,
favorite
karate, or it could be, I don't know if you're an MMA fan or a boxing fan or anything, but if you had to pick anybody from a favorite fighter to watch, who do you enjoy?
You're putting me on the spot, man.
Everybody says that.
Favorite fighter. I'll try and stay in the Taekwondo realm. You know what? I'm just gonna go with Sean O'Neill. Yeah, he's gonna take the minus 78 division next World Championships. Future world champion. Yeah.
Yeah. He won't be happy if you didn't say him. Is that it?
No, he'd be cool, man.
Yeah. There's a bit of subtle pressure there if you had to say him. Yeah, but sure, look, final in 2015. Isn't that right? He lost to Colin in 2015.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why not go?
Yeah, he's there, man. He's just he's close. I think he won a bronze 2019, maybe a bronze 2017, and then silver in 2015. So the gold's coming soon.
Yeah. Who did he lose in the last one in 2019?
I think a Russian. I don't know his name.
Can't even remember now, to be honest myself.
Yeah. I think he lost to a Russian and then someone from maybe Norway. No. Finland won.
Yeah,
Finland won.
And Rintanen won at 78. I can't remember the Russian guy. Maybe he beat in the final. Yeah. So so look, man, I think we'll leave it there. Thanks for coming on.
Man.
I really appreciate you coming on, hearing your story.
Thanks for having me, man.
And best of luck in the Olympic qualifier, and hopefully you get there and you get to Tokyo.
Yeah, it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. So take care, man. All the best.
Yeah, see you, man.
A reminder to check out today's sponsors, TKDWear at TKDWear.com, and use the promo code BLACKBELTER for 10% off. All details are in the description, and see you next week.